Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Rockwell. So, a topic that comes up quite often with my students and with followers is how to actually practice your instrument in ways that ensure progress and improvement. The short of it is that practicing is really just problem solving. It's a time for diagnosing issues, applying strategies and techniques to solve those issues, and reinforcing the solutions so that the issues don't resurface. That's easier said than done, of course. What sorts of strategies and techniques can you apply? Earlier this year, my former teacher, James Piorkowski, reached out to me with the idea to co-produce a series of talks breaking down his tools for productive practicing. These are exactly what they sound like. He has used them with his students for years, myself included, and I have continued to use them in my practice while passing them on to my own students. This is the first of several segments where we'll be talking about the tools, how to apply them, and what sorts of problems they aim to solve. It should be said that while these tools are aimed primarily at classical guitar, most of them that pertain specifically to the guitar can and should just as well be applied to any style of guitar playing, and many of the tools can be applied to the study of any instrument. Jim has generously made his tools available to download on his website for free. There's a link in the description. Let's get into it. Hello, dear viewer. My name is Alex Rockwell. If you are new to my channel, I'm a guitarist, composer, and teacher of guitar and music. I am here with the incomparable James Piorkowski. Jim is also a guitarist, composer, and teacher. He was the head of guitar studies at the State University of New York at Fredonia for 41 years, which is a lot of years. He held the title of SUNY Distinguished Professor, which, well, they don't just give that title to anybody. I am a former student of Jim's. I was in his studio at Fredonia my junior and senior years from 2013 to 2015. And I can say for sure, no teacher of mine has made me feel as fired up and motivated about the guitar and music as Jim ever could. A large part of who I am as a musician and as a person today, I owe to Jim. This is going to be the first of a series of conversations on James Piorkowski's Tools for Productive Practicing, patent pending. These are things that Jim has used with his students for years, myself included. They have gone a long way in shaping the way I practice, and I routinely pass these ideas on to my own students. If you are someone who struggles with making progress in the practice of your instrument, you have found a goldmine. This is going to be great. Jim, if you want to say anything about yourself that I missed that you think is important for people to know.
I think you covered more than I even remembered about myself.
Oh, good. Okay, well, good.
So I have nothing to add other than that I'm really glad that we're doing this and
Me
that
too.
you're collaborating with me on this project and vice versa. I think people will get benefits from it because I know that I do, and I know my students have and still do.
So why don't you first tell us what are the tools for productive practicing in a nutshell?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you how they came about. I realized that looking back when I was practicing 4 or 5 hours every day religiously, that I understood that a lot of that time was repetition of whatever I was doing. And it wasn't as thoughtful and as problem solving as it could have been. So there was a lack of efficiency of my time and my effort. And as I moved on in my career, I had less time. And, with a family and teaching and composing and all of that, I had to become more efficient. Mm-hmm. So I started a list of different ways to practice in ways that would give me more improvement, more understanding. And I just started writing down this list so that as I'm practicing, I got this sheet in front of me. And I'll go through certain tools, as I call them, to apply to certain situations. Mm-hmm. And I call them tools because when you think of hardware tools, if you're building a shed or some sort of structure, you use hammers and saws and drills and so on to build something. But you also use those tools to maintain something.
Mm-hmm.
And so these tools I have found can do both. They help us learn a piece. They help us understand the piece. They help us understand what we're doing physically. Guitar being a polyphonic instrument, mm-hmm. it's complex. The fretboard is not a obvious scale like on a keyboard, which you have over your right shoulder. I mean, you and I could teach a 3-year-old how to play a C major scale in about 10 seconds, right? With one finger. Mm-hmm. Think of teaching a 3-year-old how to play a C major scale on the guitar.
Right.
It's just a whole different animal.
Right.
So the tools help the brain understand what different fingers are doing, different hands are doing, what they should be doing for musical expression. And I also want to say, as we get going into this, is not all of these are my invention. Mm-hmm. Sitting through many master classes and hearing great performers, not only guitarists, but musicians, talk about how they approach learning and or teaching in a class, for example. I would mark these things down and say, oh, that's a great tool. And I remember getting tools from people, great masterclass teachers like David Russell, for example, I think who is one of the best out there in teaching classes. And then others were just ways that I found of solving problems that became effective and could be applicable to many different problems that we face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's two things you said in there that I want to expand upon too. The idea of these being tools, what I've always found is like each of the tools on this list is, they're applicable for solving certain problems, right? Like you're not going to hammer in a nail with a screwdriver, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if there's like, an issue of rhythm or something in a piece that you're working on, it's, there's certain approaches that you might use within this set of tools mm-hmm. to address that issue, right? None of this is specific to the classical guitar even. I mean, I guess some of the things on your list are guitar specific, but many of them could apply to anything, mm-hmm. any instrument, right?
Absolutely.
So, and like you said, I mean, these are ideas that I think are they're just floating around out there, amongst many great minds in music, and to collect them all, or as many as you have in one place is of immense value, I think. So yeah, we should go down the list. Yeah?
Sure.
Yeah. Do we have anything else we should say?
Well,
in general?
Just one quote that I want to share from the legendary basketball coach John Wooden, whose team at UCLA won 88 consecutive games.
Yeah.
Wooden was just a master teacher and coach. And on the top of the sheet that I hand out to students, everyone that wants one, it says, right. Don't confuse activity with achievement. And that's sort of puts it in a nutshell. When we're practicing, are we really achieving something? What did we improve upon? Is it tangible? Mm-hmm. Did we have an aspect of the many aspects that we encounter? Do we have evidence of improvement of that aspect? And so we could be really active, like I was for those 5 hours every day right. for so long. But was I really achieving it from those times? So John Morton was a big inspiration in sort of moving me in that direction.
Yeah. And I think most of us go through the same thing, confusing activity with achievement. I mean, it took me a long time to fully learn that lesson, that hours of practice or it's not about the number of hours, right? It's about how efficient were you with that time.
Exactly.
Because I mean, I remember hearing about classical guitarists who would practice 6 to 8 hours a day or whatever. And first of all, how? How do you find the time to do that? But second, like, are you really achieving things in that time? Is it really all productive for 8 hours? I don't really buy it,
Right. There's got to be diminishing returns.
Exactly.
As the day goes on. Yeah.
Yeah. And something I've learned too is like, there's not that, I guess it's easy to let this become an excuse to be lazy, but time away from the instrument is really important too, because your brain does so much background processing of the things that you've like actively been focusing on when you step away from it.
Yeah, especially when you sleep.
Right.
Even a nap
Yeah.
during the day after practicing in between sessions.
Yeah. So the first thing in the toolbox, which I suppose one might argue is one of the most important things, is singing. What can you say about that?
Well, and of course, this is not exclusively mine at all.
Right.
So I've learned we're talking polyphony. So we have soprano melodies, we have bass melodies, or just a bass line. If it's counterpoint, they're both melodic, right? And so singing a line, and I pretty much apply fixed do solfege to my singing, because I find that for those who don't know what fixed do solfege is, the note C will always be do, no matter what key we're in. And we pretend sort of it's in the key of C with the fixed do.
Which is the way the Italians do it, I believe.
Right. Most European instrumentalists will sing fixed do. And
Yeah.
so what I like about it is that it's like a GPS, If I'm singing do, that tells me where it is, or there, or it'll tell me on the, if I have a rough idea where I am on the instrument, what fret it is, if I know that syllable is do, for example. So it's a little bit of a GPS map thing. Singing, I have a saying that if you could sing it, you could hear it, and if you could hear it, you can play it. And something about internalizing what comes out of the guitar by singing it, by becoming the music, is great. It greatly enhances our understanding of it. I was just learning some pieces that I wrote decades ago, and even being the composer, I have to rediscover the melodies that I wrote, and so in singing them, actually I was thinking, wow, that's a pretty nice melody. I'm glad I wrote those notes, and it comes across differently as it comes out of us versus coming out of here.
There's something that one of many. I'm probably going to be recounting many anecdotes from my time as your student, but there's one that I remember you would use sometimes. Stupid hands. Do you remember this?
Yeah, of course. No brain cells.
Right. Your hands are stupid,
But
it's all up here, right?
But obedient.
But obedient, exactly, yeah.
Right.
Something I sometimes say to my students is, what we're ultimately trying to do is shorten the distance between the head and the hands.
That's a good way. I like that.
Something that I see loads of students struggle with, especially more beginner students, is just getting to the point where they can play a piece in time without having all kinds of hesitations, and we're hearing all the bar lines, and everything. And I think what the issue is a lot of the time is they don't have a clear mental picture of what the music is and how it's supposed to go. It's like their only feedback of what the music sounds like is whatever sounds they're able to make with the guitar. So it's like there's a gap in there, you know.
Right.
So
The concept of the music is not clear, not developed.
And if you don't have the concept of the music, well, how can you really communicate the music, right?
That's right. That's right.
And yeah, I mean, I think singing definitely helps in that endeavor. You know, I don't think it's the final thing, of course, but it's a big part of it.
Right.
Yeah. On the fixed dough thing, you know, how important do you think that is? I know you like to do that.
I don't think it's vital. I don't think it's mandatory. I hear a lot of great musicians, when they sing the melody, they'll just use the syllable la.
Yeah, right.
That's fine. Or hum it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't, for me, I just find it to be a great mental discipline. Because one of the tools that we'll get down to later is called mentalization. And so where I am conceiving the piece, playing it in my head, I try to use the fixed dough solfege to help me locate where I am on the fretboard. Yeah. Because when you do that with the mind, the fretboard can become a little blurry, you know, like am I on the 7th fret or the 9th fret or whatever. But if you sing, you know, F sharp, and I sing fa becoming fi for F sharp, and I'm on the 2nd string, I know that 7th fret, you know. Yeah. So having that label for me helps me memorize and picture without the guitar, which is also a very important tool.
I remember one more thing on singing, I guess, before we move on. I remember like the hardest thing you ever had me do in a lesson with singing. I was playing the Bach 996 prelude with the fugue section in it. You know, I don't really play it anymore. I remember you had me play one of the voices and sing the other at the same time in fixed dough solfege, and I could not do it. It was so hard, and I would practice that on my own. I don't think I ever really got that good at it, but I mean, it really got me under the hood on that piece, you know. I mean, it's that's very hard music too, though. I mean,
and any of the attempts that we make on any of these tools, at first it's going to be, especially like right hand alone, which we'll get to very quickly. That's so abstract, you know, because you're hearing open strings, or you can mute, right? And all you're hearing is just clicks, right?
Yeah.
So, but I've never, you know, so I should say, we stumble when we first try to do something we haven't done before. That's okay. And don't be discouraged.
Right.
Because you're stumbling or it's frustrating. What you need to actually think of, oh my gosh, I can't do this. If I can improve on this and eventually do it, that's the evidence that I'm improving. That's one of those tangible markers, like, all right, I achieved this, and you're going to have to trust this, if anybody who tries this, is that it will benefit the whole package once you get rolling. And I still find right hand alone can be very frustrating, especially a piece that doesn't have a pattern.
Right.
But I never say after doing it, oh, that was a waste of time.
Right.
I've never said that, you know.
Right.
It's always revelatory.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I think something I came to realize while I was studying with you is that, you know, the key to playing any music really, really, really well is understanding the music from as many different angles as you can, you know, inside and out. And, you know, it's not just muscle memory, right? It's so much more than that. All right. Thanks for watching. Again, you can get a PDF of Jim's tools on his website, linked down below. If you have any thoughts, questions, or experiences you'd like to share related to anything we talked about, please feel free to leave a comment. In the next segment, we'll be talking about practicing with the left hand alone, right hand alone, playing with a mute and rhythmic variation. Thanks again. We'll see you in the next one.